All right, I'm working on another bag today, and I'm working on something like that, right? A thinner version, but this one's gonna have a lining on the inside flap. This just this part, not the rest of the parts. I think a lining on the inside would make it look nice. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna line two pieces of leather together. So this is the front flap of this next briefcase, right? And this is gonna be the inside. It's basically the same pieces of bridle leather, just glued together and then eventually stitched. So I'm going to do that. I'm gonna set the two pieces together, glue them, make sure they are glued, because I don't want them to come apart. When the bag is developed and through the years and anything like that, just because then they'll start rubbing. So I don't want that to happen. I'm using some glue that I need to cover my face with. I'm just gonna let the whole process run on the video if anyone's interested in seeing how I do this. Sometimes if the leather is too waxy, I might brush it with a wire brush just to rough up the fibers, but this is pretty good. The glue will stick to this. putting on another coat just to make sure it's tacky to that. I'm not gonna glue that part. So I'm gonna put most of the glue on here and just, you'll see, hammer it into the other part. I just want to make sure it gets stuck in there. I'll take this off. It's still fuming in here. I don't like to smell that stuff. And it's cold outside, so I usually leave the door open. But a lot of times when this is done, I'm going to leave this outside to dry. I'm not going to leave it in here. So I try to minimize as much as I can to these fumes because they are definitely not good. All right, so I put a lot of glue on the one panel. You could glue the one panel on the other panel and then sandwich them together. You could do it that way, but I like to do it this way. It keeps everything cleaner and it keeps the bottom panel, especially the edges where I'm going to be cutting later, keeps them glue free right now. It just keeps it much cleaner this way. I've found through the years. All right. So next, what I'm going to do is I just want to lightly push the two pieces together. So that's what I'm doing. I'm turning the inside and I'm hammering the lining in just to get the pieces together better. Close that, close that. make sure these two pieces dry and glue together very well. Just don't want them for the life of the bag to ever come apart. You know, maybe a little missed section that wasn't glued enough down the road can come apart. And then the two linings are rubbing together. And if you set this right, if I set this right, then that would never happen. If you know, if I didn't use enough glue, or if I just didn't do what I'm doing now, I think this is an important part. You want to have the lining nice and tight, not one of them floating linings. Is pushing the edge down, so later when I stitch it and bevel it, it's not fraying out on the edge. Not coming out. That I definitely don't want, because it's this briefcase is not going to have that paint to bind it. If it had that paint to bind it, the binding paint itself acts like a glue. It has glue agents in it. It would glue the two pieces, but being that this is burnished, you know, the two pieces can eventually, you know, separate like that on the edge, and I don't want that to happen. It does not look good when that happens. So that's what I'm doing right now, paying really careful attention to make sure the edges are fused really tight. One side, that's the front side, that's the inside. Alright, when this dries up, I'm going to trim this, and you got your front panel and the lining of it in the same beautiful bridal leather. It's going to look sick. Same thing like that. Here's the bottom panel. Alright, I'm going to leave this to dry, and then I'm going to check my edges on this again, make sure this is set. I think it's, when you do linings are tricky, whether it's leather lining or suede lining, it is a tricky process. You really got to know what you're doing, because you might be able to set it now, but a month, a year down the road, if it's not done correctly, it will turn to shit, guaranteed. Alright, so that's the end of this video.